I realized we are landing on grass. So what was going in my mind was, how much does it cost really to do a tarmac to run from there to there? That was my landing today as I came in. So what is UDC? I represent UDC. I'm the executive director, as has been introduced. I come from Chenjojo, 2 kilometers from here. UDC is a government body established by an Act of Parliament, Cap 208. And it was established to facilitate industrial and economic development of Uganda. So, facilitate industrial and economic development, which means the mandate is very broad. And we always try to find our way around. And I've focused on two core objectives, which I must do in the law. That is to promote and assist in the financing, management, or establishment of new undertakings. And the second one is to undertake research in industrial development. So those are our must-do objectives as the Uganda Development Corporation. We do a lot of other things, but I will focus on the role we play in the tourism subsector. We are in the high-end space of the tourism subsector, especially in the MICE, the meeting, incentives, conferences space. We are 50% stakeholders in the Speak Resort Convention Center, the new facility that hosted NAM last year. So we own 50% stake in that new facility, and we are part of the team that pulled it off in exactly 1 year. We own the asset of Serena Kampala, meaning that facility which is run by TPS under the Serena brand. So that asset is owned by UDC 100% on behalf of the government of Uganda. We also own a 25% stake in Munyonyo Commonwealth Resort, below the Speak Resort Convention Center. So we are also into that space. And to promote cultural tourism, we also found ourselves owning the 49% stake in Igongo in Mbalanga. So we are in the high-end space, and our aim really is to see how we can attract bigger conferences, bigger meetings into the country as well. But even in this space alone, we find challenges. For the Secretariat to note is that sometimes the coordination of these bigger conferences, the coordination mechanism is very, very difficult. But even if you go and market and you want to bring a conference into Uganda, they are willing to come to Uganda, but then they will say it is a government way organization. So you struggle to get the entire government into the organization of such meetings. It's one of our biggest challenges for the MICE subspace. I know UTB has a facility to do it, but also it does such meetings. It's one of our biggest challenges for the MICE subspace. I know UTB has a facility to do it, but also it doesn't have the power to call other sectors. In terms of future projects for us as UDC that we are looking at the moment, We are yet to discuss with my brother in UA that we want to establish a high-end tourism facility in Queen Elizabeth National Park, and also a 4-star facility in Kabalega, near Kabalega Airport in Hoima. So those are the kind of projects that we are looking at. They must be high-end. I tried to put it up and I failed. I don't know how they do this. So we don't finance ourselves. We don't have a fund for tourism development or for private sector smaller units. But I think we need to work together because we are developing an industrial and economic development fund. The Industrial and Economic Development Fund is established within the UDC Act, and part of what we are developing at the moment is to try within that fund to have a component where we can mobilize capital and provide that capital to the small hotels and other facilities that are coming up in the tourism space. But I know many of our colleagues have several facilities, but our biggest challenge in financing these facilities, because of the heavy capital investment at the beginning, is usually the cost of capital, very high interest rates, and that is a big inhibitor for financing tourism facility because of the initial capital outlay that is required. Maybe what we need is, this has been proposed and discussed a number of times, maybe like Vero said, Dr. Veronica, we call her Vero, like Dr. Veronica said, is that we need to implement more. And I think we need a concerted tourism development fund, and we develop it and push that till the end, and UDC would be happy to be part of this journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Virungi. As I told you, we are saying the same exact things. The Tourism Development Fund was talked about yesterday. On every meeting we've been at, it has been talked about. So I like that this is being emphasized in all areas. So we can take some questions. Yes, please. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we can take 5, 6. It will depend on the time that we have, please. This side, that side. Let me start with this side. Okay, maybe here, then I go here, because some of us were on the panels, so I want to give the folks who didn't say anything at all to talk as well. Let me start with this gentleman, then number 2 is there. There was a number 3, 4. Honorable. Okay. And then let's get started. May I?
Yeah, Honorable Alex Uganda. I have really loved the critical analysis of this gentleman. Yeah, positive critical analysis. But then quickly, since UTB is here, you know, we fought hard to get money for UTB to market Uganda. I'm really very shocked when I see that our rating in the Travel Advisor for the last 28 years is really at a low ebb. How dare can they compare us with society where there are bombs every day? And yet we passed a big budget for UTB to market Uganda. So what is the problem? I think UTB, you must come out clean on this. and you explain. The other is, I think when you listen, there is a very huge challenge, and we have the National Planning Authority here. National Planning Authority, now we are into NDP4. What is the problem? How can you not have the master plan of the entire country, the development of the entire country, and the monitoring of this process? How can we see roads deteriorate to a level where we look architect? Actually, for me, every time I pass that road, I get good people, I catch, and yet, the people, they see us as people who are decision makers. Really, these people who are supposed to implement and make this country move, why are you making it difficult for us? I want really the Minister of Finance and National Planning Authority to come clean. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are going to let's first give Madame Olive Lumonya to clarify on the Kasese Airport, then we'll go to the others.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Birungi's question, I think it's important for us to share some information. For us to do the runway for Kasese, which is about 3.5 kilometers, we'll need about $43 million. And the calculation is very clear, and I'm going to share with you. The runway in Kasese right now has a railway line. So what government is doing now, negotiations that are going on with the Chinese company that has come in, they visited last week. One of the things they will do is to first of all divert the railway line. Now when you do a runway, it's almost 6 times what you do. So for example, the 3.5 kilometer runway is equivalent to 21 kilometer road. Because the impact of an aircraft to fly, and this is research that has been conducted globally. So the figures I'm giving here are not for Uganda. If you went to China and looked at how much it would cost to do a road of 21 kilometers, that is the cost of a runway. So fortunately, as I said, government is in final negotiations. We visited, I think, last week, and that process is still going on. If we are lucky and they are able to come on board, the Chinese company, then they will be able to do that runway. Thank you.
Derek?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. By the name Sublime Peter, I'm the CEO of Vumbula Uganda Festival and Source of the Nile Festival. These are tourism festivals that I believe are very unique and fall under MICE. Every time we organize these festivals, there's a very huge trickle-down effect in terms of, economic impact. You're looking at vendors, tour operators, accommodation facilities, transportation partners, all of these people, cashing in, and that is tourism for us. My question and plea is to the UDP, Mr. Patrick Birungi. He has talked about, stake in these conventions, speak, and so many other facilities. Yesterday I was arguing with someone here, and they were saying, but you see MICE is conference. No. MICE is meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. I'll give you an example. Look at Zimbabwe, Zambia. They have what we call Big Falls Carnival. This is a carnival that brings in numbers that come from across the globe, and they spend. And I'm kindly asking Mr. Patrick, can we have stake, for example, in an event like Source of the Nile Festival? Because, honestly speaking, we are thinking about marketing, but we can't demarket everything. I have a degree in marketing. I can tell you that having a tagged audience, having a unique selling point is very important. We can all agree that Source of the Nile Festival or Source of the Nile as a site is unique because Kenya doesn't have that. Rwanda doesn't have that. USA doesn't have source of the Nile. Why don't we invest in source of the Nile so that we are able to market? My plan is to market in 10 countries where River Nile passes. We all agree that Egypt, 90% of their economy depends on source of the Nile. Why don't we have a stake, for example, Mr. Patrick? I would kindly request a stake, for example, and say, because every time I organize Vumbula Uganda Festival, Source of the Nile Festival, I'm spending 100 million every single event, and I've never gotten any support from the ministry. I've never gotten any support, and I really appreciate that I've engaged. I want to appreciate Madam Doreen Katsime. I've had conversations with her, and she's very positive. I've had conversations with people here, but let's implement. Because again, tourism has changed. Tourism has evolved. Look at countries like South Africa. They are leaders in mice. Look at countries like Rwanda here. They are using their festivals. And when their festivals are working and people are coming through, guess what? People are able to be, to visit these other sites.
If we can wrap it up maybe in the
So
next
I'm
30
kindly
seconds.
requesting for, and still talking about the tourism fund. I know it's really going to be very helpful, and I want us to really put it to the president. But I know there is another challenge. For example, the tourism fund is going to be put out there, but some of us, for example, you'll ask for a facility as security, but some of us don't have those securities that are going to be asked. I know what it means to have credit. Mm-hmm. You're going to say, we need, you want 200, or let's say 300 million. You could give us a security of 500 for you to be able to access that. Mr. Patrick, I'm kindly asking, some of us don't have that money. What we have is the passion for this industry. And I believe 90% of people here know about Vumbula Uganda Festival. I believe we can all agree, if we have Source of the Nile Festival, look at Victoria Falls Carnival and how much traction it's bringing in. Why don't we have stake, even if it's 50%, and say, okay, we are going to put your production where you spend 70 million. We are going to give you the, I've been paying venue.
I'm going to drop you a second. 40. We have got the point, but I would like everyone else here to get a chance. So if I
Mr.
can
Patrick Birungi, I'm kindly
asking.
Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But let me help him wrap up the point. We do have a tourism fund that we are trying to propose. Access to credit is the biggest problem. 90% of Ugandans do not possess collateral. So whenever you ask for collateral, you exclude the highest majority of Ugandans who don't have it. So the use of chatels, use of other options is what he's saying. Do we have alternatives to asking us for collateral? Can you ask for something that we can actually provide and access these funds? And I think that's the point he's raising. I think the microphone is behind there, then it will come back. And your point is very well noted here. I don't think that Dr. Patrick is going to answer, it's just feedback. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Jonathan Wright. I'm the owner of Wild Places Africa. Like Praveen, I've been here for over 30 years investing in tourism in 5-6 different national parks. I'd like to ask a question each of the panelists. Firstly, starting with oil and gas. You talk big numbers, huge investment in Murchison. There's massive infrastructure going into the Delta, as we all know. But at the moment, UA has 100 rangers seconded to oil and gas out of the 400 ranger force. A lot of the rangers, because we have a property in Murchison Falls, are not that interested in their job because they want to work for oil and gas because they get more money. Why can't oil and gas assist Uganda Wildlife Authority in a major way by fencing the Belisa side of the park with people fencing to prevent people entering the national park and really make a major contribution other than a few cars or something like that? Perhaps they can offer something serious. We're talking about 4.5 billion barrels of recoverable oil. It would be nice to see them maybe offer $30-40 million to UA to ensure the park is protected properly and the animals are looked after. For James Musunguzi, the ED of UA, You know, we have 9 million acres, over 9 million acres of protected area, of which we're probably only utilizing 1 million acres. That includes Uganda Wildlife Authority, an amazing forest reserve. We have over 5,000 chimpanzees in wildlife conservation areas, and yet we're all fighting for permits in Kibale Forest to track them. Why isn't the private sector allocated areas inside forest reserves or inside the national parks where they can habituate their own chimpanzees? We can create more product throughout the country. So we need to look at all those assets, which are currently, I think most of the poachers could claim squatter rights in a large part of them. We need to protect them and then maybe bring in private sector partners to do it. Unfortunately, there's an NGO law at the moment which makes it very difficult for NGOs to operate in Uganda. There's a lot of money available for conservation in Uganda, but URA charges taxes on imports to assist Uganda Wildlife Authority. Please, can we revisit the NGO law? I'm not talking about where people are criticizing government or necessarily on the human rights side, but specifically where the government is unconcerned, where money can be found to assist the Wildlife Authority and the forest reserves and everywhere else. Praveen, a very simple question. When you are marketing in the UK and you're a very successful marketing man, what is the first two questions that a tour operator in the UK you're trying to introduce Uganda, what do they ask you? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Let's get the answers each and every one of the panelists has. We'll start with the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Energy. Go ahead, please.
Okay, mine came from Sean. I'll quickly address it on how the oil and gas sector can support Uganda Wildlife Authority and therefore the tourism industry when it comes to the requirements of UWA. Well, as a sector, we are keen to form sectoral linkages with the rest of the sectors, and we continue to work together to understand what support is required where and to what extent the different entities can be supported, not only from the government side, but also working with our partners, the oil companies, through corporate social responsibility. We are happy to engage UWA. They have not expressly indicated that they need this support, but we are happy to engage to understand the extent of support they require and to what level the oil and gas sector can then come in to really ensure that they continue supporting not only the sector, but the wider parks that they are taking care of. So we'll have that discussion with UWA and we see. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Edie.
Thank you very much, Veronica.
Welcome.
Jonathan is asking why we are not bringing in the private sector to support the conservation efforts. Yes, the modern way now, world over, is that governments are entering into conservation management partnerships with private players to support, bring in models of conservation world over. We have started it in Uganda. We are already having Space for Giants in Pianupe Wildlife Reserve. They are helping us in managing that area. We signed a cooperative management agreement where they have obligations, we have obligations, and the partnership is working well. We are studying the partnerships and how it is working as we are learning along the way, with a view to scale up the good practices that are learned from those partnerships. You cannot go full blast before you appreciate and learn some of the good practices, but otherwise, emanating from that, we've had some lessons, and at the moment, we are actually in partnership and negotiation with the Wildlife Conservation Society to enter into a cooperative management agreement for the Ishasha area. That's one of the initiatives we are working on for the recovery of lions. We have got a proposal as management. We have had a discussion. We have gone to the board, and the board is discussing the same. And we think that there will be multiplier effects regarding our conservation. So yes, it's a new model where you involve the private sector or the NGO world to support conservation through management partnerships, which we are exploring, but we are going slowly for us to be able to learn the good practices so that we go into what we know. But what I can assure you is that that's the modern model, and UA is going there. It's already working in Pianupe, working with Space for Giants. We seem to be going with Wildlife Conservation Society. Most likely it's going to happen. And so we need to scale up. Like you've rightly said, it is a huge estate that we are managing, almost 10% of Uganda's area. According to the IUCN numbers, one ranger is supposed to man 10 square kilometers. That's the standard, international standard of law enforcement. But as we stand, as Uganda Wildlife Authority, one ranger is manning 22 square kilometers. So you can see that we still have a long way to go in terms of building capacity. We need to recruit more Ugandans to carry out law enforcement. We need to employ technology to be able to for effective law enforcement. We shall get there because Ugandans are there, they need jobs. But you must first make the money to be able to ensure that you're going to take care of their wage bill. So we know what we want, and we know that we must work with partners, but we also have to go cautiously by understanding what we are going into and seeing the good practices that are emanating from what we've implemented. So far in Pianupe, like I've said, we are going to Ishasha now, entering a partnership for the recovery of the lions, and we shall get there. So, if there is anybody, Jonathan, express interest, give us a proposal. And given the proposals that you give us, we shall evaluate. And if we are happy, we shall be happy to work with you in a partnership agreement. We've also done that. Kaboya, you can see how the COBs have recovered very, very well, working with private partnerships. So yes, we are engaging, albeit in a slow, careful, cautious manner. So please, if you have a proposal, we are happy to receive it and study it and take it through the processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James Musinguzi. Over to Mr. Praveen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Veronica, and thank you for all these interesting questions. And again, it's to stress that this dialogue is so helpful and so useful. So well done again for doing this. We all have different opinions, different experiences. The ability to discuss that in a friendly way, I think, is so important for all of us. And I think that is what is so great. So you say, I'm not trying to be critical. I was assessing what I believe is fact-based assessment. Mm-hmm. If you do a market analysis, you look at what are the constraints of the market. Do people know about this destination? What do they know about it? Do they know enough? If not, what can you do to make them know more? How do you resolve any perceptions they have? And that picks up Jonathan's comments. When you talk to people overseas, they say, yes, we hear Uganda is a very interesting, very beautiful country. Is it safe? The first question they ask because of these travel advisories. And the second is they talk about the human rights perception. So I'm just the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger, right? This is what we face daily in the market. We go to the market with great enthusiasm at huge cost around the world. I have a colleague in the US today. We were in South Africa 3 weeks ago. We'll be somewhere else next week. The cost of marketing is huge for small companies and disproportionate to what we are earning. Since the travel advisories have gone more negative in recent years, occupancy has declined to, for most lodges in the Western area, below 25%. Which business can survive occupancies at this level? Is tourism in this country viable? Ask yourself the figures. Look at the hard figures that investors have to put in. And the gentleman, who talked about the tourism fund, he talked about the constraints of getting money. Those of us who've been lucky enough to find some money from somewhere, we need a return. Ask the tourism companies of Uganda, what is their return over the last 30 years since tourism opened? And ask the companies who are invested in countries in the rest of the region, what is their return? So it's a factual assessment. So, picking up these things, if we are going to make progress, dialogue is very important. Use successful models from around the world. I don't want to speak about any specific organization, but I'm conscious that there are organizations, and the ED mentioned them, who are good at running national parks, who are good at bringing in capacity that you don't have. After all, Uganda had capacity in 1960. We all know that. We lost it in the bad years. Today, in a number of years, we have great capacity. We have a national airline. We have an airport, although as the tourism fund gentleman pointed out, Isn't it absurd that you have to get past the Istanbul queue to come to Kisoro or to Kasese? Why can't we have a simple terminal? Why can't we make life easy? Entebbe Airport, sometimes the queues are so bad when you're leaving and exiting, you almost wish you could walk out of the country, right? So simple things. We all have constraints. And as Jonathan said, private sector companies are forced to perform. If we do not deliver a product, we don't survive. And that's what makes us move on. So please think about our expertise. In an ethical way, ask us for our input. Ask us, can you manage this better than us? How will you manage this? What is the product you will produce? What is the return you will give UWA or the private sector? Despite all these difficulties, we have opened a lodge called Kibale Lodge down the road. And I don't want to do PR for it, but we have won 3 awards this year from American magazines to say it is one of the top hotels in the world. Now, how have we done it? It's an 8-room hotel. We don't have the ambitions for the tourism fund people to do giant structures. But you can, with 8-room hotels, if you decide what you're going to do and work hard at it, you can make a marketing success. And the same lessons we can use for the rest of Uganda. So I would say, please bring in partners. Please help us with the image of this country. And please help us with the human rights and as well with the infrastructure. And the other issue is this whole business of the oil industry. I think it's great Uganda has oil. Let's use it to develop the country. But where it is causing negative impacts on conservation, they must play a part in doing their part in stopping that. So as Jonathan said, they are making big money for the country. That's great. But they must also make sure that we don't damage Murchison Falls. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are we allowed to take some more questions? UTB, you have an answer. Can I get someone from UTB if we have representation? It's a question about how we have been, I think, level 3 on the advisories for a while, and what we are going to do or what we are doing to manage that.
Yes, Honourable MP, Minister, Madam PS. Yes, Uganda Tourism Board. I don't know if you know 2023, 2024, our budget was actually cut by a half. We've only just got money. Thank you very much. I hope you voted for our money. Good. Thank you very much. So I should thank you for the increase in the budget for 2025-2026 financial year. The year has just started. We have a new CEO on ground. Sorry, I should have introduced myself. I am the board chair of Uganda Tourism Board. We have a new CEO, new team, including the lady seated next to you. She also sits on the board. I don't know if she didn't declare herself to you. So we are running with new budget, new energy, and to promote the Pearl of Africa. So you shall see results. Mr. MP, you can start asking me next year and the year after that if Honourable Minister extends our tenure. Right? I hope it has given you some comfort. We have our strategies in place, etc. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there some, I don't know, he's taking it somewhere.
Thank you very much. My name is Mariam Kluger, and my question goes to Dr. Msinguzi. We used to have 3 times tracking in Kibale Forest during the high season, but now we reduced it to 2 times a day. And you find that a group goes out and there are about 40 people are tracking at the same time. And to me, when I get feedback from my guests, they feel like it's too much, 40 people to be tracking. Sometimes you find there are only 4 chimpanzees. And there are 40 people all looking at those 4 chimpanzees, wanting to take photos. So I wish you could introduce the 10 o'clock tracking so that reduces on the numbers. Because also this gives the animals a lot of stress when they're surrounded with so many people. My other question is on the Semliki National Park. We have a lot of people who would like to to go for a day's trip in the mountains in Semliki. But most of the time you find that people pay entrance fees, and again they pay an activity fee, which makes it very expensive. Because when you look at visiting national parks, they pay only one fee for trekking. For entrance is the same amount is for trekking. So this makes the trekking in Rwenzori in Semliki National Park not profitable because of that. Most people are using the community trail, and yet the government or UA would be earning a lot of money out of this. Another one also, I'm also emphasizing on Mr. Pravin's comment on promoting Uganda. I travel sometimes and I go to Germany, but most of the time, there are sometimes when I meet people and they ask me, where do you come from? When I say Uganda, do you know that some people are still thinking that Idi Amin is our president?
Very true.
And people are always saying, oh, you come from Uganda. How about Idi Amin? And when you tell them, oh man, the guy left a long time ago and he's even dead, he's under the ground, people don't believe. So we need to market the place, the branding really needs a lot of time to do that and to advertise Uganda in a positive and proper way. Thank you.
That was the last question. If we can get the ED to respond,
Thank
then
you.
we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Dr.
And
Veronica.
progress with the program. I do apologize.
Thank you, Veronica, Dr. Veronica. Yes, thank you very much for the observation. That is true. When I joined UA, I found they had removed the mid-morning tracking. And we have agreed to reinstate that morning tracking, mid-morning, to reduce the congestion in Kanyanchu. That has come to our knowledge. We cannot allow that to continue. But also, the good news is that we are habituating more chimp groups in Mainaro, in Sebitoli. You're going to have more chimpanzee groups so that you can have various groups tracking different chimpanzee groups as opposed to concentrating in Kanyanchu. That has come to our attention, and I want to assure you we are doing something about it. And we are preparing ourselves. We are going to reinstate the mid-morning tracking so that we reduce the pressure and the congestion that has been observed over this period that we have undergone. So we take note, but already doing something about it. The issue about Semliki is about packaging. We must move away from individualistic fees, and then we do a package. For example, if I am going to Queen Elizabeth National Park and I'm interested in entrance and then the experiential lion activity, why don't we package that and somebody pays at once through the gate? So that I go in with my pass, indicating the various activities that I'm going to undertake. I just present my pass, I undertake the activity, so that I pay at once and then get all the experiences at once, so that I don't have to pay here, pay there. It's inconveniencing. The tourist wants to enjoy himself or herself. So we are working on that. We are packaging, making packages which you can pay for at once and enjoy that package. Briefly, allow me to talk about the travel advisory. 1 second, Veronica. I attended the inaugural Uganda Airlines flight in London, and we were with the British High Commissioner to Uganda. And she has been very key in supporting our Name and Save the Rhino campaign. Some of the discussions we have had have been largely centering on the negative travel advisory. And their position is that they report a situation as is. And our argument has been, when the situation changes, why don't you then change as well? Because one of the problems we have is the problem of the tourists we had in Queen Elizabeth. But that has since gone away and things have normalized. So she has told us that end of this year they are coming, the security system is coming from the UK to do an assessment of the status quo. And then they will update accordingly. So they monitor a situation over a long period of time, and then they monitor and update. And the president of this country has had a specific meeting with her regarding travel advisories. So, private sector, I want you to know that government is not seated. A lot is being done about some of these things, but of course, they are behind the scenes, you may not know, but a lot is being done to make sure Uganda is upgraded from level 3 of travel advisory so that we can promote this country. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Previn has some feedback, then we will end the
Thank you, Dr. Veronica. Thank you. Just to add on to the ED's points, and it's very helpful, again, to have these questions and discuss them, sir. And, you know, I think your new dynamic approach to UWA gives us hope that we will see some changes. So the travel advice, it's great that the government is lobbying because the private sector cannot do it enough. The other issue is this product. What is the key product of Uganda? Chimpanzees and gorillas. And of course, Murchison and other areas. And that's what we must collectively, as different stakeholders, work together to produce excellence. So, you know, we have been sending guests to Kibale and also to Chambura, for example, for the last 28 years. And the feedback often is not good. So I'm glad you're handling it, sir. I don't want to get into the detail of it, but it's exactly that. It's man management. If you are getting 40 people, as the lady said, sometimes 80 people around one chimpanzee family, you are stressing chimpanzees, you are causing disease transfer potentially, and you are giving a bad experience to visitors. So we have certainly been working with the previous ED to try and approach and help that. And also we realized the briefing wasn't good enough, so we worked with them to improve the briefing. So we are ready to work with you. We provided briefing, which is at Kibale, which explains to guests what they should expect. And these things are critical. The management of an experience, the selling of it, so it is world-class. Thank you, Veronica.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, for today. And I thank all my panelists for joining me here.
I'm glad Doctor remembered the group photo. Okay. May I kindly invite the Honorable Minister and the Permanent Secretary to join the group photo alongside the Chairman of the Presidential CEO Forum, Mr. Katongole, please. Okay, and there it is. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. And at this juncture, I would like to recognize the presence of the RCC, Fort Portal City. Madam Nasike Asmin, you're welcome. We are in safe hands. And before she came to Fort Portal, she was in Mbale City and Mbale District before that. You're welcome. I hope the people of Fort Portal are treating you well. Ah, nice, nice. Also with us, we have the Regional Assistant to the Mufti of Bunyoro Toro Muslims region, Sheikh Talib Hussein. You're welcome. And he came along with the Chairman Toro Muslim region, Al-Hajj Bashir Kayondo, together with the Deputy District Qadi Toro Muslim region, Sheikh Twaha Mwanguhia. Thank you for gracing the occasion. Right about now, I would like to invite Dance with Valentino, which presents the beauty of the natural world of Uganda and its people, and how together they believe that they can amplify the fabulous beauties of Uganda through dance. So I don't think they'll be dancing alone. I think they'll be getting you to dance with them. And I look forward to quite the engagement. So over to Dance with Valentino.
Cross the shoulder, and run to the hills of Masaba. Sip from the Nile.
That's Dance with Valentino, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Valentino, and your group. And right about now, we're getting on with our program. We are moving into our keynote address on attractions and investment. And I'm glad to see Madame Palka Koza walking with the Honorable Minister, because she's the one who is going to be giving us the address. And thereafter, Mr. Geoffrey Munyara. But first, allow me to invite Ms. Palka Koza for the keynote. Okay, check.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, Madam PS, the honorable members of Parliament, and all the Abatoro who have welcomed us very well to Fort Portal Tourism City. On behalf of the Uganda Tourism Board, and as a dedicated contributor to the tourism industry, I also express our gratitude to the President's CEO Forum and to all our valued stakeholders for being part of this essential platform for discussions aimed at elevating Uganda's tourism sector by looking to transform our tourism destination. As you all know, tourism plays a vital role in economic development by generating significant revenue, creating jobs, and stimulating infrastructure development. As a major source of foreign exchange earnings, tourism boosts a country's balance of payments and fosters economic diversification. It drives employment, not only within the tourism sector itself, such as hotels, restaurants, tour and travel agencies, communities, but also all the other industries, transport, retail, agriculture, all of which feed into the tourism value chain. Tourism encourages investments, roads, airports, ICT, and also cultural preservation and conservation of cultural and natural heritage. We have learned yesterday, and through testimonies and all the panel discussions, who have been, by the way, a very, very high quality set of people who have brought to the fore each of the unique discussions and what they want to see. Tourism is a core pillar of Uganda's growth agenda, specifically within the new NDP4 and the ATM strategy. ATMs, agro-industrialization, tourism, minerals, and science and technology. And this strategy aims to expand Uganda's economy tenfold from approximately $10 billion per annum to $500 billion within 15 years of unveiling this new 25-fold growth. We have learned and discussed about the challenges facing the sector, and thank you very much, fellow CEOs, for bringing this to the fore. And I'm sure there's a group of people who shall, and we've agreed, the touch points which we feel must come out. Branding consistency has been talked about, and Uganda's weak overall position on the global scale, which is only 65% visibility. When people go to the tourism trade fairs, as you said, as you heard, first question they ask, is Idi Amin still there? What about your anti-gay bills, etc., etc.? Tourism sector players have managed to navigate these hard questions by counteracting the good over the bad perceptions. We have a heavy reliance on, I'll call it low-value African source markets, because the fact is that we have approximately 63% of our tourists come from the neighboring countries and within the rest of Africa. We have to work harder. We must work harder as a country and think differently. If I may compare to Kenya, Kenya last week launched a tourism revolution, as what they called it. Kenya wants to bring 10 million tourists, international travelers they called them, to Kenya by 2036. At the moment, they have 2.4 million visitors. We also have, as has been highlighted, an absence of effective crisis management and communication systems. What is termed human rights violations, and this has, of course, impacted on our destination. International marketing representation, the focus has now changed, and we are engaging in what has been called the economic and commercial diplomacy strategy, which was officially launched in Gulu City last week among the heads of our missions in the different countries where Uganda is represented. I think there were 34 of them. We should thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for working with Uganda Tourism Board and with the Ministry of Tourism to make this a reality. I'd like to personally also thank the British High Commissioner to Uganda, who has been Uganda's stalwart supporter from when Uganda Airlines launched Entebbe-London Gatwick route on the 18th of May. Those of you who saw the video, she was actually the first person to step off our Uganda Airlines plane in London. She's been advocating, as you know, through UA, the naming of the rhinos, and endorsement of the conservation projects under UA. Her joke is, she says that now my mother she cannot visit me because there's a direct flight from London to Entebbe. And she talks about our pineapples being the best in the world, fact. Our Robusta coffee, Uganda must brand itself as the home of Robusta coffee. And let us ride on these friendships that we have, the goodwill that we have with the foreign missions in Uganda. What also came out strongly is we need to strengthen our tourism data credibility. We must invest in proper data collection so that we know exactly where our visitors are going, where they are spending money, and we need to tap into the needs and perceptions of the potential high-value travelers. Much as we have chimpanzees, gorillas, source of the Nile, Murchison Falls, the potential for mice, meetings, incentives, conferences, events, is huge. Through Uganda Tourism Board's UCB, Uganda Convention Bureau, we are going to have more staff managing that bureau